Hello everyone, this is Sam. For today's video we're going to be going back over the Halloween event and especially what we could be investing into as there is only 1 week remaining in the festivities. Halloween is different from some other events that we have in GW2 in the fact that it is recurring. Every year we're going to be having Halloween at exactly the same time. That means that every investment that you make that is related to Halloween has to have that painful realization built into it. You have only 1 year to sell whatever you buy now. And actually you have even less than 1 year because next summer people will be aware that Halloween is just around the corner and they are not going to be buying items at a high price point if they can expect to have them within the next 3 months at a fraction of that price. So every single one of the investments that you are going to be making after this video has to have a maturity of 9 months. This is critical when investing because it means you are not able to go overboard. You can't just buy a lot of stacks of some items and sit on them until the next year. You're going to be having to sell every single one of them. And my first advice is before investing in anything, you go to GW2bltc.com and you look at the stuff that usually sells and then which price point. This is the information you're going to be needing, and now we are going to be looking into the different categories and what you can be getting from each of them. First of all, we're going to be talking about the materials and more specifically about the tier 5 bone. So anyone who has been farming into the Mad King Labyrinth has realized that large bones are dime a dozen. The thing about them, however, is that the price didn't really drop that much, and that was actually a question that was asked by one of my patrons in our Discord server. And my answer to this is that a lot of people, just like me, them and the rest of us, are aware that mystic curios are needed in a huge amount for every single legendary that has come out being tied to Heart of Thorns. You need 290 mystic curios, and above that you also need 26,000 mithril ore and 26,000 elder wood. This is a huge amount of materials to take into account, and in my opinion the reason why the price of tier 5 bones hasn't really tanked is because a lot of people kept the orders going every day because they are aware that if they want to get a head start on the next legendary, they gotta do it now. So first investment idea, get mithril, get elder wood, get some tier 5 bones, make curios. Curios are a very good way to store them because they take much less space than the original ones. Now, if you are not able to make a lot of curios, that's not really a problem. Make however much you can right now, as normally the price at which you will sell them should be double of the cost to craft them today. This is, however, just some opinion that I have and will not necessarily be reflected in the reality. Now for our second point, we're going to be talking about the other materials that have some interest, which are not directly tied to the Mad King Labyrinth farming itself. I'm thinking about tier 6 mats. Tier 6 mats have not been in the spotlight as of lately because when people come to spend their laurels right now, they do so on the tier 4 materials instead. However, tier 6 materials have been a component of legendaries throughout the ages and since the game ever released. Tier 6 materials have always proven to be a solid investment that has some pretty good maturity, as every time a skin is released or legendary, there is a sync related to tier 6 materials. If you get them today, you have some pretty good things to look forward to in the future. The reason behind the price that tanked on all of these materials is because they drop from the trick-or-treat bags in a small stack of 10. That means that if you want to get a few of them, you can be looking at the ones that are currently way below their usual price and get a stack or two. This is a good way to invest a few hundred gold without necessarily going overboard and getting yourself stuck with gold that is tied in items. Now we're going to be talking about the exclusives related to Halloween. First of all, and you should know about that, anything that drops from the trick-or-treat bags has not got that exclusive name to do it. The reason behind that is that we have a huge supply of trick-or-treat bags on the trading post, and some people are bound to keep gambling with them until the end of ages. As such, when it comes to exclusivity, we're going to be looking at stuff that only drops during Halloween. A very solid example of that would be the Tattered Bat Wings, and in my opinion, you should be getting a few of them. The reason behind that is that they are needed to make Night Fury, which is one of the most amazing skins that you can find in the game and is sadly related to Halloween. It basically gives you the effect of the Batwing Brew and works as an ascended shoulder piece. The reason why some people might want to get it is because the effect is really cool, and we have gotten some other cosmetic effects that are rather vampiric, and you can be using them as well as the Batwing Brew effect on yourself in order to make some pretty cool skins. And the thing about Night Fury also is that right now we've gotten another sink for the vial of green goo, and the price of materials required to make them is going to be going high and high, and at the moment the situation we're in is one where the price of Night Fury should only be going up. So if you make a few, you're probably going to be able to sell them for a little profit down the road. Now, I am not saying that this is necessarily the main truth. In my opinion, it is a good investment, but does not necessarily mean that you will be making a huge cash amount. Now, in order to talk about the next point, we're going to be having a look once again at what has been only dropped during Halloween. The answer is skins. The second point of that answer is Shadow of the Mad King. Now, we'll be having onto the Black Lion chest some specific skins which are the Shadow of the Mad Kings. Shadow of the Mad King skins were released at some point back as the drop from the Mystic Forge if you were forging rares. However, they are very rare, and the price, for example, of the scythe always remained at around 4k gold. The fact that they were being dropped from the Black Lion chest made it so that the buy orders retracted to much lower prices, and at the moment it is rather interesting to grab one or two of them in order to have something to sit on for the future. Skins are usually a solid investment because you can sell them back to the buy orders in order to recoup your losses. In my opinion, getting some Shadow of the Mad King skins is not a bad idea at all. However, this means tying a lot of gold into these items and might not be good to anyone who does not have a huge cash pool to draw from. Now, the last point that I wanted to talk about was the supply of account-bound materials. Opening trick-or-treat bags has this very specific advantage of dropping you Imperial Fragments. Previously, the consumable making for the toxic focusing crystal required the Blossom Dust. Blossom Dust that dropped from champion bags, which meant that the price was pretty steady on that consumable due to the fact that people had the possibility to craft them very often. Now it requires Imperial Fragments. Imperial Fragments, they drop from dungeons, they drop from the trick-or-treat bags, and they drop from doing some fractals as well. The thing about them is that you do not get them as often as you get Blossom Dust. The price of these consumables is definitely going to be going up in the coming month unless they're replaced by something much better, which we would have gotten if it was from Path of Fire already. Maybe something in a Living Story, but I'm not really betting on that. That means that the demand for these consumables can only remain steady or go up. And now we are in a situation where the price is still relatively low because people dumped them really hard thinking they were garbage, and now that they are back as being good, the toxic focusing crystals that is, we're in a situation where we're not going to be able to craft them as easily as before. So if you have gotten a lot of Imperial Fragments, or if you're still opening a lot of trick-or-treat bags and you have the opportunity to have a steady source of Imperial Fragments, which will also be the case at Christmas, by the way, because the Winter's Day gifts drop Imperial Fragments as well, then another good investment idea for you would be to get some Toxic Spores. The Toxic Spores are also needed for a recipe, and actually there is no steady supply of them. You can get them from the Nightmare Fractal, but since we've had the 100 CM instead, that drops much better cosmetic reward, the 99 CM is not run as much as before. That means that right now, this is a good idea to buy some Toxic Spores and be looking forward in the future to making these consumables. Right now, they are turning up to be a profit if you craft them. It's like 20 silver per craft, it's already pretty good, but it can be much better in the future, and that's gonna be directly tied to how many Imperial Fragments you have and how many Toxic Spore samples you have. So that is the last idea for investments that I wanted to give you guys, and that concludes the video. I hope that you guys have thoroughly enjoyed it and that you have gotten a lot of ideas on items to invest into, and if you have any question, you're more than welcome to ask them in the comment section or to contact me on Discord or Twitter. Now, I wish every single one of you a happy trading and to get rich.